What's going on out there this fine Tuesday evening in MECA land? How's everybody doing this evening? I hope everybody's week's off to a good start. It's Tuesday, a little bit after 8 here. I got going a little bit late. Um, what's going on, Miss Alt? How's everybody doing this evening? I'm going to get on Mr. Soda Pop Kid here in a little bit. He was the recipient of the Alma Gates Lifetime Achievement Award this past year at finals. Been around the game for a long time, so if you got questions, things like that, sharpen them up, get them ready. What's going on, Mr. Thibodeau? What's going on, Mr. Beard? We do have, I believe we have 3 events coming this weekend. Let me Yep, we got the Run Your System, Not Your Mouth show there in Orlando on the 22nd. We've got the Base Buddies show there on the 23rd in New Mexico. And I believe also on the 22nd, you've got the Low Life Kickoff there in Indiana. So 3 events coming at you guys this weekend. What's going on, Jeffrey? How you doing this evening? Mr. Pops, how's everybody doing? 3 events coming at you guys this weekend. The season's going to really start heating up. So make sure you get out there and start getting those points together. A little bit of news. I know I get asked, quite a bit over the last couple months here. The website's been broken. It's still not 100%, but you should start seeing a lot of that stuff coming back, and a lot of the error messages are going away. We're trying to catch up on the event schedule. That's working again so far for us. So we've got the website starting to show us a little bit of progress. So hopefully everybody's, excited or happy about that. I know I am. It's still a little ways off before it's, quite back the way it was, but at least a lot of the errors and stuff are coming out. So what's going on, Tony, Mr. Mac, Mr. Milani? How you guys doing this evening? I think that's really all I have as far as news on my end right this second. Again, 3 events this coming weekend, one in Orlando, one in Indiana, and one in New Mexico. All the events are posted to the main MECA Facebook page here. So make sure you like them, share them up, get the word out. I know we just got Stevens up this week, so it was a little bit of short notice. So all the New Mexico folks help Mr. Thibodeau out and get him going there, help him get some folks out there to his event. And looks like everybody's doing all right this evening. So I don't know how many of you folks know Sodda, but I've known Sodda for quite a few years now, and really good guy, competitor. So I'm going to bring him on here. I know his vehicle is hard to miss, so I'm sure a lot of you folks know who he is. So if you got questions, like I said, load them up, and we'll get asked. We'll ask those questions to Mr. Soda Pop here. So I'm going to bring him on. It looks like he's ready here. We was in the background cutting it up. That's why I was a little bit late. So I know he's working. What's going on, Mr. Smith? All right. You're live now, Soda.
What's going on, Big Bud?
What's going on, guys?
Yeah, I call Bud. I got nicknames for everybody. I call him Big Bud B. Biscuitman. Him and Shannon, I call him the Biscuitmans.
What's going on, Mr. Arndt, Mr. Brad Zink, Mr. Crane, Mr. Joe? Joe said he met you once or 1,000 times.
Joe, which Joe?
Joseph Alt.
Oh, that's Joe. That's my boy, Big Joe. Let me tell you something about Joe. I could tell you when I first met him out when I was going out to Columbus. Well, I think I think Joe was entering DB drags as well, so I might have met him in DB drag or seen him in DB drag first. And then I started seeing him in MECA. And Joe started giving me some advice way back then. You know, I was going to these shows and didn't know a lot of these guys at the time, like Vernon Sargent and Team Neo and all them guys. And these guys were loud. And I was wondering how in the world I was going to get that loud and why they were so loud and what they were using. And I was using Lanzar equipment at the time. And I remember Joe, first advice Joe gave me was charging up my batteries before a show. Him and Vernon Sargent charging up my batteries and not playing no music at all while I drove to the show. So I wouldn't eat my batteries up.
Right.
That's the first advice I started getting from Joe. But then there was times when Joe was giving me advice and I was content with where I was and didn't want to do it. Then
Right.
later on I did the advice and it worked. And Joe gave me that "I told you so" look. You know what I mean? And I remember back when Chris Miller, if you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know him.
When he was throwing shows, the winter shows in Ohio. And this guy came through named James Barden that came through. And it was his first time doing MECA. He was a DB drag guy. And he was using the Terra amp, I think the HD series, before I even knew what those amps were, on 215s. He had two 8Ks on 215s in his trunk. And this guy was doing 55s out of his trunk. And he ended up being a Radical X. But at first, he was antagonizing me because he knew nothing about putting mics in a kick panel. Since he was in DB drag, they were the front windshield. And I had beat him in a contest or two. But then when he came back, Joe Alt was helping him out with where to put the mic at him, what to do, roll the window down, open the door up. And Joe had been telling me this stuff for a while, but I wouldn't listen. Not that I didn't believe him,
Right.
but I was content. And I watched Joe help James almost beat me, man. He in the lanes, he was like, open this door, open that door, roll down this window, move this seat up, move this seat back, take that seat out. And then he ended up burping a 55.6 or something like that at the time when I was only doing a 54 in the kick, and I was doing sealed outlaw. I had all the windows up, all the doors shut. And when I seen his score go up, I was like, this dude's about to beat me. No, he did a 55.8. I was like, this dude's about to beat me. And then one of my teammates was like, do the same thing he did. Roll down the driver's side window. Take that seat out. Now burp. And I did a 56.8.
Heck yeah.
And I was like, oh my God. You know what I mean? I was like, Joe looked at me like, now you're listening.
Well, sometimes that's what it takes.
Yeah, I almost got beat by a trunk guy.
Right?
Yeah, man.
Mr. Cox, Mr. Duke, how you guys doing this evening? I'm not seeing any questions yet from the viewers, so I'll just kind of, I got my little general list of questions that I ask. So I think that was a pretty good start there. But what got you into car audio? How did you get started into car
Well,
audio as a hobby?
1989. I was 25 years old. I didn't get my license till I was 25. So I was working at this barber shop in my hometown in Pittsburgh called Homewood. And there was guys out there that had stereo systems just on the street. They wasn't competing. I knew nothing about competing. That was in a time where guys would get nice cars. You had drug dealers out there, guys that were selling drugs, and they would get a nice car with nice rims, a nice paint job, and a stereo system in it. And they drive around the neighborhood and you can hear them from a distance. And I know that before I even had a license, man, I remember I was in a shop, man, and this one guy rode by the barber shop, and it was like a Ice Cube song. that one track where he says, "Let the bass go." And you heard that loud and clear. As soon as he said that, man, it was like an earthquake. And
Right.
we all ran outside and was like, "Who the hell is that?" And we had a few guys in my neighborhood. It was Joe Flowers, Brian Bay, Harold Berry, Ray Childress. There was regular guys driving around the street that were loud. I
Right.
mean, just back when the old kicker comps was out, when kicker free airs was out, and the free air subs that a lot of these young guys don't know about, and Lanier Power and Punch 150s and Rockford Fosgate and High Phonics Baltars and all the and Pile Pounders and all these subs was coming, and amps was coming around at the time. Kicker didn't have an amp back then, just a sub. Okay,
Right.
and I first I had to get a license and get a car. So finally, I didn't have them kind of parents that, when you're 16, they take you out. I was in a foster home technically, and they didn't take me out at age 16 and teach me how to drive. I'm basically self-taught, but a couple friends in the barber shop that work with me was a cousin, and the manager was trying to help me get my license. So they would take me down to the driver's place and show me what to do so I can get a license and let me drive their vehicles and stuff like that. Let me fast forward. So I finally got my license. Now I wanted a car immediately.
Right.
Okay, and a friend of mine's brother was selling an old 1976 Oldsmobile MECA. He only wanted $400 for this car. Only had 40,000 miles on it. And I jumped on it immediately because my credit was bad at the time because I went to Beauty Academy and didn't pay the loan back, and now my credit was bad. I didn't know nothing about all of this stuff, man. Trust me, And so I bought that car. It was gray at the time, and I started doing one thing at a time. I got it body work, got it painted black. It was gray, and then I wanted some sounds in it. So the first speakers I got was the Ultimate Monster 12s that you can just buy already made in a box with the tweeters
Uh-huh.
already in a prefab box at a store, at one of those like Radio Shack type stores. You know what
Uh-huh.
I mean? Threw it on the back seat, got a Jensen amp, a Jensen head unit, threw it on the back seat, and I thought I was loud. I was happy. I was excited just to have it on the back seat.
Right.
You know what I mean? And driving around, and somewhere along the line I realized I was not loud with that actually, when we used to turn our stereos up and walk back away from the car as far as you can back away to see if you still can really hear it. That was like a thing then. Go to an
Right.
audio shop, get a system built, turn it up loud, and start backing away from it. And when I did that, I realized I really wasn't loud. So from there, and I didn't know how to build my own system. I had my boy's brother, the one that sold me the car. He knew how to hook up stereo systems. He didn't know how to build boxes or nothing, but he knew how to connect the dots, the wires.
Right.
His name was Troy. I would go to him and he'd hook it up for me. If I blew a fuse, I'd run back to him. He would fix it. And then I found out about an audio shop. There's a couple audio shops that was popular. Audio Communications and Powerhouse Audio were two of the first audio shops I was hearing about back then at Audio Communications. Have you heard of a guy named John Harabic, haven't you?
Oh yeah. He still
That
comes out.
that build that he has was built by a guy by the name of George Friedel that worked at Audio Communications. And George Friedel was a genius back then, bro. This guy knew, he had software and all of this stuff before I even knew what computers were or what computers could do. He had software and everything on there. He knew how to build ported boxes. He knew everything about frequencies and what the kicker subs versus the Rockford Fosgate punches can do at what frequency. Back when kicker can be ran in sealed boxes, most people was running sealed boxes back then.
Right.
Before the ported boxes got real popular. And
Uh-huh.
George, he's the one that actually built John Arabian's truck all by himself. Actually, when he got done, it took him 3 years to build that. When he got done, they fired him. After that, I don't know if it's because it took so long to build or it cost money, but George was the guy that would not let nobody help him. He would not let none of the guys help him. He would sit there and stare into your trunk and imagine what he was going to build and then do it. So he imagined what he was going to do in John's vehicle. And back at that time, John was the man back then, you know. Back in them days, John was that guy back then when everything was working in his vehicle. But them were the guys, places that I was going up to, and I couldn't afford any of that stuff back then. For some odd reason, it seems like nowadays, even though some equipment is so expensive, if some of them owners will give certain people deals or competitors deals that they wasn't doing back then. It was like $1 a watt for amplifiers back then. You see what I mean? Like the precision power, the A1200.2 and those kind of amps that amp was 1,200 watts and $1,200. You know, and we couldn't afford that. I couldn't afford that at first. So I was running Pyramid in this warehouse down the strip district. This one Indian guy named Sanjoy Das had owned a warehouse and he carried Pyramid. And the mechanic that used to fix my car turned me on to him. Then I started going down there by myself, and those speakers was like only $50. The Super Blues and the Super Pros, but they got down. If you knew how to build them, they got down.
Okay.
And I, you know, that mechanic started building for me. I didn't know how to build, but then I know one day I was looking at the amplifier in my trunk, and I was looking at the color code, the red wire, the black wire, and a blue wire, a green wire, and looked at where they were going. And I was like, so this red wire goes to here, the black wire goes to there, and this wire goes to there. And I started practicing. Now, trust me, when the battery used to pop, I thought it was the end of the world. Scared the hell out of me when I accidentally put the positive on the negative of the bad. I had to learn about all of that, man. But it was trial and error with me. Then finally, I went to try to build my own box and would measure how big the kicker free air size was, only like 11 inches in the diameter. I had me a compass, went up to this one wood place. There was no Lowe's, there was no Home Depot, it was some other places. Went up there and buy a particle board. Never heard of MDF. Particle board. We'd buy a particle board. How cheap was particle board back then? Like $16. Probably cheaper than that. Go buy, come home, just brought me a jigsaw, just bought a saw. I was like, this can't be that hard. I didn't take wood shop in high school, none of that. I didn't take any of that. I was in junior ROTC and all that, you know, but I wanted to learn how to build. So I just went trial and error right in my living room, had dust all over the living room, coffee table. I didn't care. And I just started building baffles, just the front baffle at first. And that's how it started. Now, by this time, it's 1991 when Techmaster PEP first came out, PEB first came around. When I had two free air 15 kickers, free air 15s, I've had the acoustic 460 amps, I've had a Hyphonics Baltar amp, I had Rockford Fosgate Series 1s, kickers, free airs, Pyramid. I was trying out. I ended up getting a Nissan Stanza. Had 4 Rockford Fosgate Series 1s in there running off that Hyphonics Baltar. Boy, was that loud. And that was a hatchback. See, I didn't know how can I put that? The advantages of what hatchbacks could do. I just know it was loud in it.
Right.
I ended up getting carjacked. I got carjacked, and I got carjacked at gunpoint by 3 guys in masks. And they took that car and burned it up. Dang. You know, so I went through it in my time, went without a car for a while until I could afford another car. And man, that's how I got into it, man. You know, I just went from there. I'm surprised I'm still into it after that, because The only competition I knew about in Pittsburgh was a Super Bowl of sound. It was at the Three River Stadium when I
Right.
first saw Dr. Frankenstein, which we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
Dr. Frankenstein was down there with the 12-15s doing a 149.9 to a Madonna song, to the beginning of a Madonna song. And everybody was praying to him like he was a Greek god or something. 149.9, oh my God, loudest score we ever heard. And not too long later, Alma Gates comes out in the Car Audio magazine. I could still got a stack of those magazines up in the attic. The Car Audio magazines, remember them?
Oh yeah, I remember.
And sometime later, I remember reading about Alma Gates. And I got that article was up in my barbershop. That article is laminated in my barbershop, bro.
Oh, that's
That
cool.
article.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, and I remember looking in there and reading about her. And I was like, you mean to tell me that this 60-something-year-old lady has got the loudest score in the world, I was saying? And I'm looking at her bill with all that, them PPI, the 10 she had in there. And I was like, oh my God, I wonder what that sounds like.
Right.
Don't you know there was a time when everybody and their grandmother was trying to get at her? Around that time, all these guys were trying to be louder than her, even in Pittsburgh. There was Jimmy. There was, what was the dude's name? There was this Indian guy. His name was Brian Ramsey. He worked at Audio Communications. There was Paul. There was Yaka Brothers that opened up. There was an audio shop in Plum. There was Speed of Sound. All these audio shops started opening up out of nowhere. Dr. Ray's, they sold Lanzar everything. The first time I ever heard of American Bass, Dr. Ray's sold American Bass. They had the flag on the sub and stuff like that, man. And these guys were actually trying to get at Alma Gates, man. I remember Jimmy having 818s in his truck. Brian Ramsey had 818. Now, Brian Ramsey was loud as hell. Brian Ramsey had 8 Rockford 18s with an amp on each one. We're talking about 1992, bro. We're talking about when did Alma Gates? When was that? That article came out in what? 96?
I think that's what I think. 96 or 98.
Okay, these guys were actually trying to beat her. They were, and I don't think any of them got her score. I don't think. I remember going to Ohio. I did go to Ohio later on to a contest when I had 4 Pyramid 12s. I had a 1974 Plymouth Valiant. It looks just like a Dodge Dart, but with 4 doors.
Okay.
I got a hold of one of them. I had it painted ocean blue, chrome mags, drop real low to the ground. I had 4 Pyramid 12s in there. Then I went to Pyramid 15s, back to 12s, back to 15s, back to 12s. Then Rockford Fosgate 15s, and I'm jumping back and forth. And I went to a contest and was only doing a 135.
Right.
That's all I was doing. And this, there was these guys that came from Ohio with this white truck and 818s in there. They did a 158. I don't know what class they were in. I didn't understand all of that, but these dudes were extremely happy that they did a 158. Now, I don't know if that had beat Alma Gates or not. I seen something about her doing a 164 at that time. But these dudes were extremely happy, whoever these guys were, man. And I drove home. I didn't win that. I drove home from that contest. I always wanted to be louder. But at that time, I never thought about a contest. Now, let's fast forward. I get my car I got now. I bought that car in 1998. Actually, technically, my ex-wife, my first wife at the time, had bought that car for only, what did we get that car for? For like $500. That same car I got, it was a regular Delta 88. Champagne colored. I had my Dodge Dart. We got that car for her, and she ended up going to Job Corps. Somebody wrecked into my Valiant. Somebody rear-ended it when I wasn't home and tore it up. They hit it so hard they broke the leaf springs. I came home to it smashed. Took everything out of it, let a junkyard get it, and talked her into selling me that car for only $175. That Delta I got.
Oh,
She
that's
was in
good.
Job Corps and she needed the money, so $175 I bought it off her. Threw everything in that car, and that's from there with that 84 that I got now. I'm driving around in it, pounding. You know, I was always a street beater. Come sometime in 2001, I got a new engine dropped in there, which is the engine that's in it now. It's been in there for 25 years. I got an engine dropped in there, wanted to get it painted yellow. I picked yellow, got it sprayed by MECA for $194. They sprayed it, and I'm driving around, had chrome 3 stars on it. I think I posted pictures of that car on Facebook before. And I'm driving around, and I'm going to regular car shows because this is when the first Fast and Furious came to the movies. I went to go see that. While I was watching and I seen all those letters on the cars and that, I was like, I wonder what my car, domestic car, would look like lettered up like them guys. I was like, I haven't seen a domestic car lettered up like them tuner cars. I was like, I got an idea. So I found a guy that could do graphics called GT Graphics. He was a school teacher, but he did graphics on the side. And he'd be at the shows. So I stepped up to him like, hey, I want to get some lettering on my yellow car, some black lettering. But I had to think about what I wanted. So at first I'm looking at all these guys there with tuner cars with all this stuff on the car. And I was like, I'm going to get that put on my car, what that says on the car, not knowing that this stuff that they were getting on their cars was personal. You know what I mean? So I started going home and writing down what I wanted to get on the car, how big I wanted it, where I wanted it at. That's how I started with that. Then got a wing on it. Then
so you was kind of inspired by the tuner cars, but wanted to,
do it on a domestic on my car. I knew that would be different because nobody else was doing that.
Okay.
And then competitions, these little contests start coming around. And I said, they wasn't too far from me, like a couple hours. Carlisle, I used to go to the Carlisle show all the time. And Carlisle's 3 hours away. I started going to the Carlisle, and that was like one of the main competitions I knew about. So it was like I would wait a whole year to go to both those Carlisle shows. And then they started having the shows out at Newcastle, which is like an hour away from me. They was having these big shows where they would have USAC come and DB drag. All right, so I went and I entered the USAC competition. I won my first trophy in 2003. I had a no wall. I had 8 Lanzar 10s in my car and a no wall in the back that I would build. And I had 2 Lanzar 1200Ds. I remember doing 148s. How I learned about the mics and all that stuff, I go to the contest, and I was trying to learn by being there. They look at my car and say, you're in this particular class. Okay. Now, what do? There was a random guy one time that was watching the contest because I didn't know what to do. I remember just tapping this guy. I said, hey, you know anything about frequencies and hertz? And he's like, I know a little. I was like, well, I got my car right there. I don't know what frequency I'm at or what. He was like, well, let's walk over to your car. He's like, I have a disc. He's like, my friend's entering. I'm not entering. He's like, but I got a disc with frequency. It was a USAC disc. He's like, let's go over there and throw the disc in and just listen to some frequencies. So we're listening. He's like, your car sounds like it's 50 hertz. He's like, when you get in the lanes, play this. Play that 50 hertz in there. And I went in there, and I remember a girl beating me, man. A female with 415s beating me, man. She beat me out at 4th place, but I drove home 3 hours pissed. I was like a female because I wanted to win a trophy. I had never won an award. Right, and I was that close because I was the forum was called Slap.
Okay.
The forum was called Slap. It was no DB drag. It was Slap before DB drag started taking over the Carlisle show. So I'm driving home. I was so damn. I was like a female beat me. I was about to give up. and I had 810s in there, but the problem was I didn't have the trunk sealed off. It was little, and the box was sealed. It wasn't ported.
Okay.
So when I got home, I went to audio communications. I had only did a 140. What did I do? I had 810s in there and did a 143, no, a 137 or something. And I was like, what am I doing wrong? And they looked in there, like, man, first you want to take some expander foam and seal off the trunk, man. A lot of your sound is going into the trunk and not where it's supposed to go. They was like, you might want to port this box. They was like, did the specs that you get from the speakers show you a port? I was like, yeah. They was like, pull that out and port it. And you'll see a difference and seal off all them air leaks. I did that. And when I went back, I jumped up 9 dB.
Uh-oh.
Man, I was excited, man.
Oh,
I
yeah.
showed up. This time they had a competition in Harrisburg. I went out there, ran into the same guy that had lent me the CD. Now, his friend was in my class. He went through and did I did a 146. He went through and did a 147. I said, hey, man, remember that CD you lent me? He was like, yeah. I was like, can I borrow that again? He was like, well, yeah, you can borrow it. I was like, what frequency did I do? He's like, I think you did 50 hertz. I went through there and did a 148.5 and took third place. He was like, I just helped you beat my friend. I was like, really? And I was like, oh, okay, well, thanks. I was like, hey, I'll buy this CD off of you for $20. He's like, really? I was like, I'll give you $20 for this CD. He said, sure, boom. I was deep into it then. Because that was my second trophy I won. My first trophy was a USAC trophy. That was a 146. You know what I mean? And I remember Sam Horn, he was looking over at me. He said, you want to come over here to DB Drag? And now most of the guys that was going over to DB Drag was like a whole DB quieter. And I didn't want to. I was like, I don't want my score to be quieter than a 146, so I wouldn't go over. I remember Sam, like, he's like, you coming over here? I was like, hell no. Yeah, I was happy with my 146, man. That was my first trophy. I was excited. So when that happened,
always get you going.
Yeah, I was deep in. There. Now, let me tell you when I first entered MECA. We're talking DB Drive because for a long time, USAC did not come back to the show out in Newcastle. It was out there for a couple years. Then DB Drag took over. Now, this is going to be interesting. We used to have a Butler show, and that was DB Drag. I remember going out there to enter that. And then I first met Sam Horn out at Newcastle, and a friend of mine had entered the DB Drag, and he said he didn't like Sam. He's like, I don't like that dude that runs that DB Drag, man. He's an a-hole and he's mean. And I was like, really? So I go out to enter it. Now I was doing 142s. Now I didn't have 810s anymore. They stopped making those 10s. I went to 412s. My score dropped all the way down to 142. So I ripped the headliner out of the car because the headliner was falling apart. So I tore it all out. See, I didn't know all these rules. I tore it out, and I went to enter the DB Drag show, and I remember asking Sam, hey, what class am I in? He's like, well, let me see. He came over to the car. There's about 5 or 6 people looking at the car, and Sam was looking around. My no wall, the bottom of it came past the B pillar about an inch. And he's looking in there, and he's going, you're in Super Street 5. And I was like, what's that? And people started pointing to cars. You got to go against him, and him. Then before he walked away, he looked up and saw the ceiling. He's like, wait a minute. He's like, where's your headliner? I was like, well, I ripped it out, man. It was falling out. I ripped it out. He's like, that's all metal. No, you're an Extreme 3-4. And they was like, Extreme 3-4. They pointed to this truck that was from New Zealand. It was a green vehicle. It was doing like a 72. It's like, see that truck over there? You got to go against him. He's doing a 172. I was like, are you kidding me? I'm only doing a 42. And then Sam was like, what's the rules? I was like, yo, dude, I'm only doing a 142. How can you put me against this guy? He's like, it's the rules. And I was like, I
Right.
want my money back. He's like, come get your money back. I was like, my boy was right. You was an asshole, dude. You know what I mean? I was like, I want my money. So I want to get my money back. He's like, go get your money back. So while I was up there was some guys encouraging me. He's like, listen, man, you two are the only two that's going to be in that class, man. He's like, you can end up beating this guy because those are stream cars. Sometimes they don't work. Sometimes they'll go to burp and it won't come on. You might beat him. So they talked me in the stand.
Okay.
I came in second place. I was happy.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, this ain't all that bad. But I was in extreme every sense, all because of some damn bedliner, bro. I did all because of some headliner. But you know what? But you know what? I said to myself, people was like, why don't you build around this class? Stay in this class. Look at what these guys are doing and build your car to be able to get louder by doing what you see them doing. So I was like, okay. And I started building to get louder every since then. Since then, I just started working on the car and working on it and working on it and doing this, watching guys like Vernon Sargent come through there. Me and him never said anything to each other for a long time. And finally, I started talking to him, asking questions. I started asking questions. And Steve Mick, I remember when I first met Steve Mick, he had 4 kicker 18s with the MAT, the match amps.
Okay.
When I first met him, he was doing 156s. And I was like, wow, man, can I sit in there and get a demo? He's like, yeah, get in. And I was like, man, I was just mesmerized by these guys, bro. There was just so many guys that were loud. I mean, guys with the CRXs doing 154s and everything way back then. These guys were doing 50-somethings. And I was like, man, how do I get I wanted a CRX so bad, but I can't drive a stick. Most of them were sticks. Right. You know what I mean? And guys like Joe, and I'm meeting all these guys, and then I started MECA. So then MECA comes, right? And first MECA came 20 minutes away from me at the this was called the Expo Mart.
Okay.
I didn't know what forum was gonna be there. I get down there and here I meet Steve. He was a lot younger than, his hair combed back like John Gotti and all that. And I meet him, and I had to start learning how these different forums put the mics in different places. I ended up being in Modify 5 one time. Let me see if I can show you the trophy.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Joe, there's the trophy room. They want to see.
I'm in the trophy room. There the trophy is right there, right here. Kurt, right there. In 2003, I met Steve, and I ended up in Modified 5. No, Modified. I was in DB4, Modified 5 and DB4. I came in 3rd place in them 2. I see the medal sitting there, and I won Pennsylvania States for this. See the 146. Where is this at? Where am I? There's a 146 on there. See that?
Yeah.
You see the 146 and that Modified 5. I ended up winning states, only entering MECA that one time. The next time I saw MECA was in 2005. At the DB Drag World Finals. MECA would be having their states there. And I would run over there and I would enter MECA, and not too long later, MECA ended up being my favorite because I was a DB drag guy, something crazy, man. I would drive some 5 hours one direction for 1-point shows. That's how much I was getting in the car. I would go to a 1-pointer that was 5 hours away. And I remember Sam Horn's daughter, one day I went out to Defiance. She was like, you're crazy for driving that far for a 1-pointer. I didn't care. I just wanted to compete. I just wanted awards. I wanted to win awards. So I would drive out there and enter these shows. And then when I started entering MECA became my baby, bro. I liked MECA because it was a street beating contest. It was, I remember the drive-by. Remember drive-by?
Oh, yeah.
Before it was parking pound, you turn on your music and drive and stop.
Yep.
And I
Yep.
was doing it ever since then. I used to be explaining to some of these guys about how park and pound was called drive-by before it was insurance reasons
Yeah.
why I couldn't drive and do it no more. I was
I
in it,
think
man. I was a
I
MECA guy,
think
became a MECA guy.
what kind of ended that was I'm pretty sure old Eric Alexander passed out in the van.
I didn't hear about that.
And it was at finals one year. I forget the year now. I can't remember what year, but I think Eric passed out in his van and it started rolling forward. And so that's kind of when they started to stop it.
Well, I was on Team Livewire, you know.
Yeah.
I joined them. I joined Team Livewire in 2000. Okay. I started entering MECA. So I entered 2006. I won World Finals. Okay. This is before I started doing drive-by. I, I was kind of misunderstood about getting points, about you had to get points in different classes in order to be in Worlds.
Okay.
I would
Yeah.
get my points in the SPL and thought I would automatically be able to run drive-by just because of that. And I remember
Right.
one year I went to go enter drive-by. I'm in the line, and Steve was like, "What are you doing in the line?" I was like, "Well, I'm doing drive-by." He's like, "You don't have enough points to do drive-by." And I got mad at him. I was like, "What are you talking about? How did I even get here?" He's like, "You have enough points to enter SPL, not drive-by, man. You got to get 40 points in that too."
Right.
And that I pulled out all mad. He's like, "Next year, get your points in this class as well." You
Right.
know what I mean? So in 2006, I won Worlds. 2007, I won Worlds twice for the SPL.
Heck,
2008 I was going for my three-peat. I was like, "Yeah, I'm going to win it a third time." I got beat by Brandon Woodruff. He beat me out of first place. He was running a Stetson amp. I was hearing about those amps. He had burned his up, but he had a teammate that had one and lent it to him. I did a 149.9. He did a 150, did a 150 and some change. And I was beating him in preliminaries, but then he came in the final round and beat me out of first, and I got second. But I did enter my first park and pound Worlds and did get third place for park and pound. So I was happy. I
yep.
wanted a three-peat, didn't get my three-peat, but I was happy. You want to see the trophies? Want to see my first place trophies?
Yeah, they Joe asked for you to show us the trophy room. So yeah, let's take a tour.
Well, I can't spin this around, can I? No. I'll just do this. Can you see it?
Yeah, we could
I
see it
got
all right.
seven. I got 755 trophies, but I'm in a room that got only so many. So
Right.
let me turn it around. There goes the first 2006. This big. It's about 5 foot 8 inches tall. This trophy right here. I'm gonna ride down it. That's my first World Finals trophy right here.
Heck yeah.
2006, and in 2007, this 6 foot. This trophy is about 6 foot 5 inches tall right here. This blue one. This thing is taller than me. It's right here. That was in 2007. That thing's tall, bro.
Oh yeah.
Then in 2008, when I went for the three-peat, and I got lost. This is the trophy here. This trophy is about 4 foot 4 or something. But then right next to it is my first park and pound trophy right here. That was third place. I was excited. If I can spin this camera around, I'll be able to show y'all because it's full. It's full of. I'll just go like this for you. As you can see, I
Yeah,
got
he's
DV
got a
Drag
lot of
World,
them in there.
DV Drag World Finals. I took fourth place in DV Drag 3 years in a row at finals and all of this NECA stuff. Hey, where's Joe? Hey, Joe, see that Bees Car Audio? Remember that, Joe? That Bees Car Audio plaque right there? See that? Can you see
Uh-oh.
that? That big Bees Car Audio plaque?
Yeah, I see that.
I remember that. Joe, I remember Joe. The guy that threw that didn't have my trophy, but he had one made for me and sent it to me.
What's your favorite award you ever got?
Uh-oh. That's gonna be a hard one. Like I said, I got 755 of these, man. Woo.
And I see you keep track of all of them too, so I'm sure they all got a little piece to you.
Yeah, I have everything documented. How many I won in 2003, 4, 5, 6. How many state championships I have. How many world championships I've been to. My last Worlds at MECA was in 2015.
Right.
Hold on. I'm going to turn the light on out here in the hallway. I'll show y'all the rest of them if I can. This is in the hallway.
Oh, yeah. You're loaded.
I'm loaded. Then I'm going to take you to the bedroom. There goes my Alma Gates, buddy.
Yep.
There goes my other Alma Gates. And there goes my other Alma Gates. Man, I was so excited. I was kind of mad at MECA for years when I didn't win, bro. I'm going to tell you. I'm going to be honest with you.
Well,
I was mad. I was mad at you guys, bro. I thought I should have been won that Elmer Gates thing, but hey, I'm happy. Here goes a bedroom full of trophies.
You got a lot of them, man.
Bedroom, man. The bedroom, bro. I'm trophying it up. Look at all this.
You ain't lying. Wow. That's awesome that you save all those over the years like that, man, for as long as you've been doing it and actually display them. That's really cool.
And most of them are MECA. Most of them are MECA trophies, bro. Like trophies hidden all behind there, down there. Yeah. So now you guys ask me, like, where are you going to have room for them this year, Sodda? I keep finding spots, right? I keep finding these weird spots. Here you go, right along there. There's 2 empty shells right there. I'll make 2 below there. There you go. Look, I even said to myself, I'm going to start making them go down the steps.
There you go.
I'm going to put them along the walls right there and put them right there.
Shannon said, who does saw them things?
People think I'm crazy, man. They're like, dude, you're crazy. You know.
Man, I think it's pretty awesome. I think. I mean, I ended up getting rid of a lot of mine over the years, but that's really awesome that you've hung on to them like that.
I'm not giving none of my trophies away. Are you out your cotton picking, booty scratching, man? Hey, look. People, I remember the dude came to shampoo my carpet and he knocked over one and it broke. You better damn sure believe I was like, yo, man, you taking some money off this carpet. I tell you that much, bro. And then at the time we had a trophy shop that was able to repair those. That trophy shop closed, but they was able to repair my trophy. And I was serious. I was like, bro, this is a free job, dude. Like, you don't understand.
Right.
I mean, yeah, that's serious, bro. Like, I gotta watch how people walk through my house. They don't knock one over.
I got you, Mike. I wrote it down, Mr. Mac. So Mr. Mike Mac's been asking if you're coming to the Ohio show on May 31st.
Yeah, it's like I'm obligated. I'm obligated to be at that show because I'm running Resilient Sound subs now. And I do want to see Robbie at the show, because I'm technically just getting acquainted with Robbie. Because, he took care of me on those speakers. He knew of me, but didn't know who I was. So I took a trip out there and pretty much introduced myself, and everything about my trophies and all that stuff and how I wanted to try his subs. And I took a friend with me. And my friend was out there. My friend Trey, he was out there acting like he was Johnny Cochran. He was out there being my lawyer. He's out there telling Robbie everything about me. I couldn't say anything. Yeah, he's this, he's that. When he got done, I was like, okay, Johnny Cochran, my turn to talk. You know what I mean? And then, so Robbie, since Robbie is a part of throwing that show, I'm gonna make it my business. If hopefully my car is running, it ain't, and I'm gonna get out there. And
Oh yeah.
I need to get out there. You gonna be there?
Yeah, me and Shannon will be there.
Good, y'all be there. I gotta get out there and see my people, man. Give y'all this big, gigantic, biscuity pork chop hug. Just a hug. Hug y'all, man.
But yeah,
And
we'll be out
stuff, and
there for sure.
see all my base head people, man. My people. I got quite a bit of followers that follow me on Facebook and YouTube and stuff like that. I'm not the loudest guy in the world, but I do got a fan base, man.
Oh yeah, man, that car. I mean, the car is basically, I don't know, iconic kind of. I mean, you know what it is. I know it's gone through some changes,
Yeah,
over
it
the
has.
years.
It's
You know,
gotten to the it's gotten to the point, man. There's times I thought about selling it. I mean, I want a bigger vehicle. If I'm going to remain doing this hobby, I need to really to get something bigger.
you thinking
Somewhere along the line, I get
van
something bigger
or
so I can build bigger.
like a van or a SUV or something?
Yeah, like I really don't want to tell people what I want to do because they might go and do it first.
Well, I understand that. I understand that.
But I need something big. Hopefully it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. It doesn't. But
So
this
you,
car's been through a lot. I mean, ain't too much more I can do with my vehicle, and less. I mean, there's other stuff I can do. If I start, if I get with some guys like Joe Alton, probably wood the floors, maybe. And there's some leaks. I know there's some leaks in there.
right,
Some leaks that needs to be fixed, and this, that, and the other. I mean, I haven't tested it yet because I'm still trying to break those Brazilian sounds in. But I got 912s now and 9 amps, so I got more power, more cone area. And I made the port bigger. I got a 270 square inch port now. So now my tuning is up higher. I'm tuned to like 37 and some change hertz.
okay,
I like 34 to 35 really, but I'm still in the 30s. I don't know what is metering yet because I'm driving around trying to let them loosen up, but I'm not getting my hopes up too high right now about what score I should be doing. Everybody's taking these wild guesses, right?
uh
I'm hoping, I'm just going to say I'm hoping for 63s, but I want it loud. I hope it's louder than that, but I'm
uh
going to set it at 63s so
okay,
I can be not too sure of myself, but starting somewhere. So
right,
if I
right.
get louder than that, I'll be happy. I was thinking about not even telling people if I do hit a louder score, not really revealing my louder score yet and all of that, like sandbagging. I've been thinking all this wild stuff, right?
Right.
You know what I mean? But we'll see. I mean, how much is a term lab nowadays?
Depends. Somewhere between, I don't know. I haven't looked in a minute, but I want to say there's somewhere between like 12 and 18.
$100?
Yeah.
Oh wait, I got an SSA meter.
Right.
I kind of wanted to. I wanted to finally get my own term lab and a laptop so I can have a real meter.
I guess they probably, if you're not going to judge shows, I'm thinking of the Magnum. So Sean says you can get one for 600 to 1,000.
It's called a Magnum.
Well, that's the ones we use. I think. Well, yeah, and I can get I think a 10% discount for MECA members too. So if you holler at Shannon, I might be able to. I just don't know off the top of my head. I know the last one I bought, but that's like two sensors, two clamp kits, the event promoter stuff. So I want to say it was around 16 or $1,800, but
Right. I'll keep that in mind. When I got 1,800 to throw away, like, you know what I mean? Like I'm Elon Musk or somebody.
We can get the single sensors or the lower end models too. Whatever it is, I'm pretty sure I can get you 10%. So
Right.
I'll look into it and have Shannon shoot you a message.
Yeah, I'll keep that in mind because I wanted to end up getting one sooner or later to do some real serious testing. But I got this SSA meter that doesn't do bad.
Right.
You know what I mean? It'll get me close to where I might be doing whenever I get behind. When I start testing, I'll do it behind Napa Auto Parts on a Sunday.
There
I'll
you
go
go.
behind there to see what I do. But I want to bass a little bit more to open the speakers up a little bit more so I don't blow them up. Because remember, I have an 8,000 watt amp on each one. And I don't know what those resilient sounds, they rate them at 2,500 watts conservative, but I believe they could do way more than that with that
Right.
big ass magnet on them. You know, the burp is supposed to be able to handle 10,000 burp, as it said. So we will find that out because I know those Stetsons. I'm using the Stetson Bravo Bass Flex and P's and 8Ks now, which Mike Mack guinea pigged me into getting them. He's telling me to buy these amps that he never used, right? I thought he knew about them. I go and buy them. He's like, what did they do? I want to get them. Unbelievable.
Oh man, I think he's got a hatch full of them now too.
Yeah, I know. He got doing 12 12s. 12 12s, I think. His score he put up is pretty nice. I do believe he's louder than that technically.
Yeah, I think he's still got a little bit to figure out.
Right. So I like how this resilient sounds so far, dude. They're quite punchy. You know what I mean? I like them so far. I just want to see what they do on the meter, parking pound as well. Okay.
So I know a little bit earlier you said you had a YouTube channel. So where do they find you on YouTube?
My YouTube channel is OG Sodda Pop Kid. That's it. OG Sodda Pop Kid. When y'all start learning how to put 2 D's in soda, you'll be okay.
Yeah,
y'all keep spelling my name like the pop. You goom drink. 2 D's in soda. OG Sodda Pop Kid is OG. You know what an OG is, right?
What's an OG soda?
Well, it stands for original gangster, but that's got to do with those gangs in California, technically, original gangster, but it also means original generation. Or, you know what I mean? Old generation. I'm old school.
Okay.
I'm old school. I've been doing what I've been doing for a long time. So OG Sodda Pop Kid is what it's under, and you could easily find it. You just type that in, and boom, it'll bring it right up. I got demos I've done. I'm on there. Well, some of the posts I did with the resilient sounds driving up and down the street, just breaking them in. I mean, they probably saw that on Facebook, but they're on there. I have demos when I had 418s for the yellow cones, when I had the signature series, when I had 415s, and when I had HDs. The HD used to be one of my favorite subs.
Yeah.
But I have had other subs. I had the Intense 40 Intense 15s. I started using American bass around 2015. Now, you know, I was stuck with American bass for quite a while, but I wanted to try something different, you know. So I got the resilient sounds, and I'm soon to change my door speakers to the resilient sounds. I'm going to change my door amps to resilient sounds real soon as they get those amps back in stock, the 800.4s. I'm going to get 3 of them. As soon as they get them back in stock, I'm jumping on them.
Heck yeah.
You know what I mean? So, yeah, that's what I'm doing, man.
You changed it all the way up, huh?
Yeah, I had my reasons why, but I'm not going to talk about why I technically did that on here. I'm not going to do that because
Yeah.
I'm not trying to do no bashing or nothing like that. But I had my reasons, why I did a change, a drastic change like that. You know what I
Curtis,
mean?
Curtis said, "What's up, OG?"
Curtis, what's Curtis Agassi?
Yep.
Agency.
Yep.
Hey, listen, man. What's up, Kurt? Hey, people have a hard time pronouncing your last name, bro. I gotta pronounce every syllable to people. It's like it's Agency. They've been calling him Kurt. What's his last name? We were teammates at one time. He was on Livewire at one time.
Yeah.
We was teammates at one time, and boy, I liked Livewire, man. It's like they lived all the way in Columbus. I was the only Pittsburgh dude on the team, and I really loved Eric and Gene and Pee Wee and all those guys, bro. And my man, Dwight Dorsey, KD, they was a good group of guys, man. They wouldn't drive all the way down here to help me, but if I drove out there, they'd help me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're the ones that talked me into going a half ohm on amplifiers when I would only run at 1 ohm, and they talked me into going a half ohm, and ever since then I've been running a half ohm. You know
Half
what I
on
mean?
life, huh?
Yeah, ever since then, dude. And these stat psalms, bro, I got 8,800 watts at a half ohm out of each one of them last season, at the end of the last season. I'll drive around with them in that hot ass truck on a hot day, and them things barely get warm, bro. And I'm not lying.
Heck yeah.
And them things are nice. I mean, I like Terra amps. I was a Terra amp guy for a while. I'm always going to like Terra amps. I'm always going to like them. I mean, there's no telling. I might end up going back to them. But I like these Stetsons as well.
Yeah, I've seen. I've heard a lot of decent things about the Stetson. So
Right.
I haven't personally used any of them in a while. I think the last Stetson I touched was when they very first started sending the 7Ks over here. That's been what, maybe 2006, 7, maybe. I don't know.
Do you know who Brandon Woodruff is?
Yeah, Brandon Woodruff used to be on my team.
Okay, I haven't seen him in a while.
He joined my team the year after. I think the year after he beat you at finals. I was at that finals.
Okay, you was there.
Yeah, but I know Brandon, and he was a good dude, and we was pretty good, pretty tight for a couple years there, and then I don't know, life happened. He had moved, and I used to keep up with him on Facebook here and there, but I haven't talked to him in forever either.
Right.
But yeah, I know Brandon. He was one of them guys that was full of really good ideas, but he couldn't quite figure out how to make it work, and that's where I came in.
Okay. I remember he did a 159 with 115.
Yeah.
I remember that. Like the following year or something like that. He was really cool, dude. I had chopped it up with him back then a couple of times over the phone.
Yeah,
Brandon, I was just
Brandon,
trying to make friends back then, just meeting bass heads and trying to get cool with bass heads now. Don't get it twisted. There's bass heads out there that I'm not cool with on account of them being either arrogant or just not friendly. And like we were talking about, man, if I'm crossed by somebody or they act in some type of way, I will not say nothing else to you. That's where we'll start.
Right.
I'll just leave you the hell alone until otherwise specified.
So
you know what I mean? Now there's a cool bunch of guys out there, and if I need help, there's guys that I will hit up on Messenger and will ask questions, and you're one of them. Joe Alt's another one. Dominic Martino's another one. My man, Devin Crawford. Devin, right? That's my boy. That's my boy right there. I liked him. He's always been respectful, man. Devin, even when he was a young dude. I really like Devin, man. He's been out here in Pittsburgh a couple of times. You know what I mean? We hung out in Kentucky. No, that wasn't Kentucky. It was at the MECA Worlds back in 2015.
Alabama.
Out of Alabama. And look, and we went to a strip club that night. Me, him, and my boy Curtis Crawford, who I call Devin's cousin just because they got the same last name. You know what I mean? We hung out, you know what I mean? And so when I run into a problem, I may hit some of them guys up, and they're, you know, some of y'all to try to figure out, because even though I'm a lot older than a lot of cats, man, that don't mean I know everything. That don't mean I know everything. I never act like a dude that knew everything. I know what I know.
Right.
And I share what I know. If I don't know, then I'll go at somebody, man. But this younger generation nowadays think they know everything, bro. You know.
Yeah. So let's see. I got a question from the chat here. Stephen Cassidy asked, how many cubes per sub are you working with?
All right. I'm running. Okay, so those resilient sounds, the specs say run 2 to 3 cubic foot for those 12s. That's what the specs say. But I have them in 1.78 cubes each. And like I said, it's tuned to 37 hertz. I would have rather put them in 2 cubic foot because I like the subs to play. I like punchy bass and low bass, but I like punchy bass more because punchy bass hurts.
Right.
I never built my. I hope I answered this question. 1.78 cubic foot per sub. I sat in windy vehicles. I have nothing against windy vehicles. I actually like windy vehicles. I just never built a fourth order. I actually, if I ever was to do a 4 or 6 order, I would have to have somebody help me to knows about them. I do flat walls mostly, and there are flat walls that could blow wind, but with my build, like I said, it's a 270 square inch port, so I went from 220 square inches to 270 square inches, and still was able to get 9 subs on that wall. You know, still. The resilient sound subs is like a quarter of an inch smaller than the HDs. So I was able to get them, all 9 of them on there, and get that port bigger. Sometimes I'm thinking maybe I should have left it 220 square inches. A lot of these guys have a lot of opinions and theory on how big a port should be.
Right.
With it versus the sub. And I was always taught by a guy named, there was this guy named, why am I forgetting his name? He's going to kill me, man. I never had met him, but I always talked to him on the phone. He lives in Wayland, New York.
Okay.
And he was he was doing 164s way back when I was running Lanzar. And he was like the go-to guy for Lanzar. He'd always told me this theory. For 12s, he would always put 12s in 3 to 3.5 cubic foot with a 40 square inch port per driver. And you make it as deep as you needed to make for whatever frequency you wanted it to be.
Right.
For 15s, he would be 50 square inches. It would be 4 to 4.5 cubes with 50 square inches. 18s would be 5.5 to 6 cubes with 60 square inches. But I never did it actually that way. I would try to get the 12s in 3 cubic foot with about 30 to 35 square inches of port area. Because I never can get the port to be as deep as I wanted it in my car. My car is really weird looking on the inside. It's not square. It does all this weird stuff. You know what I mean? And I would think that it would be 22 cubic foot on the inside of that box, but if I got you or Joe or any one of y'all that sit there without no baffle on the front of that box, y'all would probably be able to measure it to what it really is. You know what I mean? It's like the top of it is 30 inches deep from front to back on the top. When you get to the bottom, it's like 15 to 17 inches from front to back. And then as you start going up, if you're looking at it from the side, from the bottom, it starts doing this. And then it
Right.
goes 5 inches in and then goes straight up. And then the wheel wells is there. Covered
Right.
with it. It's just weird. So I be pretending like it's a square. I'll say, okay, 30 inches up there, 15 down there, divided by 2, and then 36 and a half inches tall. And then the top on the sides, it goes from the top to the side, it goes 46 inches this way. And as it goes down, it ends up being 58 inches, then the 50, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right.
You got a lot to figure out there to actually really get it 100% right.
Right.
Yeah.
So I came to the conclusion that it would be 22 square inches, but then the app that I was using came to the conclusion with the port in it, with the port area and everything in there, the displacement of the subs and all that leaves me with 18 and something cubes.
Right.
And then, then it figures it all out from there. So that's why I came up with 37 point something hertz.
Right.
They're telling me the bandwidth is 78 hertz to something else. I don't know what they mean by that. Will it play to 78 hertz?
Right.
I don't play 78 hertz. I burp at 43. My resonant frequency is 43.
Okay.
Maybe it might be different now with what I did. Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, sometimes that'll change with, the different space in the box and the bigger port. I mean, that it might change, but you'll figure that out when you start, metering. I mean, I'm not guys like Joe and all that, they're a little bit better at the box stuff than me, maybe, because I do everything kind of like you. I'm trial and error, and I use the meter. So, I'll use the meter to tell me what size port I'm going to use. I use whichever one the meter said was the loudest. You know what I'm saying?
Right. So do you street beat at all, or you just burp?
I used to, but I guess, when I first got into it, it was, kind of like you. There was kids at school and stuff. They had that, and I had to have that. And then, uh, my first couple cars got stolen, and they had the Carl Casper show.
Right.
And basically we built it when I was in high school. We worked on our car all year long just to go to Carl Casper show,
Right.
And that's where I got hooked on it. And after seeing a lot of them guys, I think Scotty Johnson, Alma Gates. There was a couple other guys. Joe, that's where I first met him. Mike Elder, Snoop Dan. Them was the guys close to me. Mike and Snoop Dan, and like Chad Riggs. I don't know if any of them names rang off, but that's kind of where I first got into it and got hooked on it. And I guess I went and got humbled the first couple times, because I thought I was really loud, and of course I really wasn't. I think I did like maybe a 143, 145 my first couple times out, and then I was like, oh, I'm going to do a 50 this time, and I think I did a 47. But I guess when I was going to those shows, I finally was like, I like to compete, and I like being competitive, and that got me going down the rabbit hole of like researching the rules and trying to understand how these guys were doing what they were doing. And I kind of felt like back then you were kind of offered a choice, like you could keep on street beating, and that's cool because that's what we got into it for, and I love that too. Or you could build your car to do numbers,
Right.
And I just kind of chose to build for numbers. And somewhere along the way, Joe kind of took me under his wing. A couple other guys, Kurt. I always looked up to Eric and Gene and all those guys that had the big builds, the walls and stuff. But I kind of learned a lot of stuff about testing cars and building cars from those guys. And then I just eventually got my own meter and started kind of, I guess I have my own way now of doing it, but I just use the meter basically to tell me everything. And I've also been a street guy for a long time, so it's a little bit easier to do it that way because I can take stuff in and out and change it and stuff like that pretty easy. Whereas when you've got to build like you've got, it might take you a week and a half to change something. You know what I mean? Because you got to you got to cut it out or you know.
Well, I'll tell you what, this last build burnt me out. I had cut. My bath was 4 layers of 3/4 inch. And I had cut everything out, man, and made 2 subs close to each other, and they overlapped. Man, I was mad. I had to go back out and buy all that wood again and cut all those holes again. Man, I swear I measured 18,000 times, bro. I don't know how that had happened. And it almost happened again. I made it by the skin of my teeth on 2 of those subs. And was wondering like why, like how did this, what, but anyway, there any more questions you got? I want to tell people how I met Alma Gates. Is there any other questions you want to ask? I tell people how I actually talked to her face to face.
I think you've answered pretty much, somewhere along the way, you've answered most of the questions I would ask. And the only other thing I saw in the chat that I might have missed was I think somebody asked how many shows you were planning on going to this year.
Year? Well, I didn't count to answer his question. I didn't count because when you figure I got 755 trophies, if you go back into the archives on the MECA forum and hit on my name, like I said, the first MECA show I ever entered was in 2003, but that's not documented on the. I have the trophy to prove it, but it's not documented on the forum. Okay, I think it starts documenting me somewhere around 2005 or 6. Okay, and it would tell you how many shows I actually was banging out at the time. It would show you that, and I was going to a lot of shows, and this year. I mean, I'm trying to hope that we got quite a few shows back down here because Kevin Mayo, I'm on Team Imperial, so Kevin Mayo is our head judge. So it depends on how many that he can get or find, because at one point we were having shows right over here where I live at. I went to city council back in 2016 and 17 and 18, and they were allowing us to have shows down here, but then they get one complaint from some old lady all the way on top of the hill with trees and everything around her, all because she couldn't hear the Oprah Winfrey show, and she started complaining. And then and then they'd be like, "Hey, man," and I would get mad, like, "Come on, man, you serious?"
Right.
You know what I mean? And and then it seemed like they would say, "Yeah, you can have the show," just for the hope that there was a complaint, just to say no. And I would say, why don't you just say no? Don't say yeah, just to say no as soon as one person complains. And I figured they really didn't want us having them. And I was running around here like a chicken with my head cutting off, like practically begging these people to let us have shows. And I got tired. And I just said, I'm not begging these people to have shows over here. Now, just suppose we were on a TV show or something and a lot of money was coming through here. Yeah, you can have the shows whenever you want. That kind of two-faced nonsense, man. So we've been having shows at the one place over in Jefferson, PA. Now they're going to slap me for not remembering the name of that place. But I'm going to remember because I'm going to walk right up on a trophy. right up on the pork and bean eating trophy. Don't worry about nothing out there. Right up on the pork and bean eating trophy with the name of it on there. But I'm sure we're gonna have shows at that one place. Yeah, TC Customized.
Yeah. Okay.
We're probably gonna have a few at TC Customized, definitely. Maybe
Yeah.
4 or more. If you talk to Kevin.
I think Kevin said he's got 3 scheduled so far, and
Okay,
he's waiting.
those are local. But I need to get my behind back out to Ohio again because I haven't been to Ohio in a while. So I am trying to go to that one May 31st. I'm planning on it.
Right.
I gotta get some new. I gotta get the 320 amp alternators all over again. I had them. I went to 220s. The 220s act like they don't like being ran at 15.8 volts. They're stock. They wasn't bought from like CES or not. The 320s were, and then I cored them out for 220s because I thought the 320s were bogging down my engine, and that I was wrong. I should have kept the 320s. They put out more. The
Right.
220s they're disappointing me, and plus they're stock, and I'm assuming these stock guys don't know what they're doing. I don't know if they really are doing 220. If you
Right.
know
Right.
what I mean, I got them from Advanced Auto Parts, bro.
Yeah, he
Figure
did
that
come to
out.
Summer's Inn Festival last year. I remember seeing him there. That was a good one.
Who?
So, Summer's Inn Festival.
Oh yeah, I came out there to see
Yeah.
you guys, and I was using them slaps. I was using them slaps amps. So I tried those out and burned up 2 of them at that show.
Right.
I couldn't do my parking pound because I did a burp and 2 of them things went. Man, and I did get 7,672 watts out of each one of them at a half ohm. I did do that. And it come to find out a couple of them subs were suspect. I had one sub that only one side was working. I had one sub that was 2 ohms on one voice coil and 1 ohm on the other. I think that's what did it. That's what did it. My scores was all over the place. That was disappointing, man. So
Right.
I went to the StatSoms. Mike talked me into the StatSoms, and whether those subs are acting funny or not, the StatSoms still did what they did,
Right.
regardless. And I just had to get new subs. I had to go with some different subs. So whoever answered that question, I'm gonna try to get to as many as I can. If it's gonna rain, I'm not.
Not
If it's a more chance of it raining than it's not going to rain, I may show up at the show to support my teammates, but I'm not driving my car in no rainstorms. Hopefully, I don't get caught in any. I'm not. I don't like coming to places where it's a lot of dust either.
dust
Like
and rain.
that one place out there, way out there where I seen you guys way out there in Dres, Ohio. What's it called? Dres, Ohio.
Yeah, Dresden or something like that.
Dresden.
Yeah.
Dresden, like places like that were super dusty. Nah, man, I don't like coming to dusty places because by the time it's over, dust is all up in the engine, all up in the car, all up in the trunk, all up in. Nah, I hate those. I hate stuff like that, bro.
I hear that.
I like coming to cement or dry grass. When the
Well,
car, I come with the car clean and it leaves clean, bro.
there you go. That's always what you hope for, anyways, right?
Right. So I've learned to stay. I didn't mind back in the day, but I got a little. What's that word I'm looking for? I'm like Monk, bro. You ever watch Monk?
Uh,
I'm like Monk, bro. I'm a neat freak, bro.
right. Okay.
You know what I mean? I'm like, well,
There
I'm
ain't nothing wrong
meticulous.
with that.
Yeah, I'm meticulous, bro. I'm
Right.
meticulous. But anyway, you want to hear how I met Elmer Gates?
Yeah. I mean,
No.
that's why you're here is because you got the Alma Gates Award. So we
Finally,
might Might as
Finally, I
well
feel
move.
like jumping through this phone and giving y'all a couple uppercuts for me not winning a while ago. I was
Well,
mad because of that, because of all the shows. That's how long I've had the same car. I've drove that car to every show. I've driven it. Never. Well, I had to tow it once when I had no alternator. When these guys didn't do my alternator bracket right, I don't even want to get into that. And I had it towed from the mechanic shop down to 2018 at our states down here in 2018. It was towed down when I had AGM batteries in the trunk. And I went off the AGM batteries and still did a 60 with no car running at all. And I couldn't park and pound. I didn't park and pound because of it. So
right.
that messed up worlds for me. I mean, my fault. States for me that year. But I've driven that car everywhere and all the shows that I have entered and all that. I never see. I watched Eric Alexander win the Alma Gates Award. I was there then that day.
Mm-hmm.
And I had met her in 2003 in Newcastle and actually talked to her back when her truck was red and she had the 48 kicker 12s in it.
Uh-huh.
And I got to actually meet her because that show was all weekend and there was so many news reporters down there with mics in her face like she was the president or something, bro. Like every day there was mics in her face. And I couldn't get to her. I wanted to actually talk to her. So come Sunday, the kicker guys, there were some kicker guys there. I think there was some of the guys that possibly had built that truck. And I
Uh-huh.
remember walking over to them guys and I was like, hey, man, I mean, I've been trying to talk to her all weekend. And you know what these guys did? They walked over to her and they pointed to me. They was like, hey, this guy, she walked away from the microphones, bro, and walked over to me. She
That's
said, hey, my name is Alma, and reached out her hand and shook my hand. And then she was like, so you wanted to talk to me? And I was like, yeah, man, I got pictures of you on my wall, back in 1996 when you had the precision power. And she started talking to me about that. And she told me how she even got into car audio. Like he was a competitor. And she was like, and I liked it, when he was having his stuff built, I liked it. I thought it was cool. And I wanted to do it. She was like, but there was this guy that was running Rockford Fosgate that was pretty loud out there, whatever his name was. And she was like, I wanted my truck to be loud like his. So she said she went to this guy and was like, hey, I would like you to build my truck. And he said, I'm not building it to be as loud as mine. And she said, oh, okay then. She was like, all right. She's like, this dude's an a-hole.
uh-huh.
So she went to Precision Power, however that happened, and said, can you build my truck? They said, yeah. They like, and I want it louder than this particular guy's. And they did. And she said she went against him at some time and beat him. And we looked at him like, now.
Right.
Yeah. And I was like, wow. And she was like, ever since then, she was like, I was all in. I really thought this was a cool hobby. And, and she stuck with it. And I explained to her at the time, I was like, we're back where I live out here in New Kensington, Pennsylvania. Pittsburgh is
That'd
different.
be
That's
my guess, Dan. It was probably Mark Fukuda. That'd be my guess. But
what's that?
I'm not sure. The guy that she was talking about, but I'm
Probably.
not
I can't
100% sure.
remember his name. She said he was super arrogant. You know
I
what I
mean,
mean? Super,
I,
super
I did
arrogant.
I did meet Alma at one of the Carl Casper events, but I never met Fukuda, so I'm not sure about that one. But
Right. So that's how I met her, and she was real cool. I was like, they don't understand this loud car audio stuff where I live at in New Kensington. You know what
uh,
I mean? So she was like, she pointed to her windshield. She's like, the next time you go there, tell them this, and at the bottom of it said, if it's too loud, you're too old. It was right at the bottom of her windshield. She's like, tell them that. I was like, okay then. And she was like, nice meeting you. She talked to me for a while and that was it. You know what I mean? And when when I wasn't winning the Armor Gates Award, I was like, a lot of these guys that are winning, I was like, y'all never even met the lady. I was like, half y'all don't know her, who she even is. And I really thought that it was a prestigious award, and I never thought about winning it until this one dude named Dan E. Art. Danny Arter came on Facebook one time. It was being talked about. He came on and said, I think Soda Pop should win it because of these particular reasons. And I was like, wow, somebody's speaking for me. I was like, yeah, maybe I should win it. That's when I started putting my head to it. And I remember Sidney Wright and Mike Madison was two of our, they were Pennsylvania judges at one point. And I started talking to them about it. And they was like, we think you should win too. Well, we're going to vote for you. And so now I start putting my mind on it. And every year that I was wanting to win it, I didn't win it.
Right.
And I remember Mike and them was like, well, we voted for you. You know what I mean? We're going to vote for you again. And somewhere along the line, I thought that was motivation for me to keep spending my money and keep entering the competitions, because I felt if Sydney and them through any kind of discouragement out there, I might have got mad and said, well, I'm not entered, then I'm not spending my money to enter. You know what I mean? Because it started getting to that point, and I started getting mad because I didn't win. Every year I didn't win. I was like, why I did not win? And I remember Steve was like, well, your name, you're up for it. You're up for it every year. Your name is there. But I was like, now I knew that certain guys were competing longer than me. I knew that. So I understood that. But it got to a point where I was like, I know this particular guy wasn't competing as long as me. How did he win? And they're like, well, you got to be voted. And I started to think certain stuff like, why these guys don't like me or something, or what did I ever do to them, or why am I not winning? I started thinking that, and I started getting mad, and I took my mind away from it. I was like, well, forget it. Forget it. I was like, it's just a plaque. You know what I mean? And, and I was like, Alma Gates is no longer with us. It ain't like she's going to see me win. It got to that point, and I didn't care no more, until Mike Mack sent me sent me a picture of that award. He was like, look, I was asleep, and he woke me up. He's like, hey, man, you just won the Alma Gates Award. I was like, huh? He's like, you won Alma Gates. I was like, how? He's like, you won, man. I don't know. They voted for you, man. I'll take a picture of it and send it to you. Yeah. I was like, well, send it. He said, I was like, I won? I was like, how did I win? And I was pretty happy. I was like, finally. I was like, but I didn't enter that many shows. He's like, you won. They voted for you. I was like,
that's how the votes came in. I think there was one other person that was maybe just a little bit behind, but that's how it came in, and that's what I mean. I think it was well deserved, man. I mean, somebody asked what was that, so the Alma Gates Award is Alma Gates Lifetime Achievement Award. So I guess the way I look at the Alma Gates Award is, do I think you maybe need to have a couple championships? Okay, yeah. But I think it's more about, longevity and being a positive influence on the sport, because she was all of those. Not only was she a champion, she was a positive influence on the sport. And she was around until, she couldn't be. So, I feel like it's a combination of all those things, longevity, yeah, you've got some wins, and obviously, I think you're a positive influence on the sport. I've been interacting with you and met you. I think the first time maybe it's 2006 or 7 at finals that, I don't know if we spoke, but I saw you and knew who you were at that point. Well, yeah, and she was loud, and so I think you meet all those criteria, and it's a well deserved, and probably a long time coming. Um, so congratulations.
Yeah, thanks, man. And
I was kind of I was kind of upset that you couldn't make it this year. That you didn't make it out, because I really wanted to give it to you, in person. But either way, I think it's still, you got the message and you deserved
Yeah,
it, man.
I was happy. I was happy, man. Y'all gave me 3 different ones too. I mean, a clock, a plaque, and like a thermos. So I was amped, man. I got them things sitting up on my. Man, I was super happy, man. So I'm happy of that. I'm gonna try to make it to Worlds. I need to get back out there. I don't want to leave empty-handed. I'm one of them guys, man. Whether it's first place or fifth place, as long as I win something. I do not
I
want to leave
understand.
any show empty-handed. You know what I mean? So it ain't always got to be first place. Even though I have
Right,
more first place than anything, but it don't always have to be first place, man. It's all about meeting people. I was just happy meeting people and
right.
learning the stuff that I was learning from the people I was learning it from. So when people were hitting me up, asking me questions, man, I just answer to the best of my ability. I don't go bashing people because I knew where I started. You know what I
Right.
mean? I knew where I started, so I don't go bashing people saying, why are you using this or why are you using that? As William Gay using what he's using, he don't be bashing. He's just going out there doing what he's doing.
Right.
You know what I mean? And my phone is about to die on me. I don't want it to
Well, that's
die
all
on
right.
me. I'm
We've
down
been
to
going
one
for
percent, one
we've
percent
been
now.
going for a while, so I'll let you tell the folks goodbye. We've been going for about an hour and a half, and I usually stop at an hour, but
So
I was enjoying listening to all your stories and stuff. Uh,
so
but
when
go
is
ahead.
this going to be aired on YouTube?
It should be on there right now.
I wasn't watching and talking,
Yeah,
but it'll come back on, right?
it should be up there when I like after I cut it off. It should come back up. Yeah.
Okay, I'll go and watch it. Everybody that was watching, man, thanks for watching. And you know what I mean. Thanks for watching and supporting me, man. All my supporters and casted or not haters. Thanks for watching, man, and supporting me, man, and answering the questions and coming up on my posts when I post and ask questions and helping me out. Yada yada yada. I appreciate y'all. And hopefully I see a lot of y'all shows this year, man. You know what I mean? To come out there and kick it with y'all and get away from this hillbilly Bob ass town.
Well, we're looking forward to it, Soda. I appreciate you coming on with us tonight. Again,
Yeah.
everybody,
Thanks for
2024 Alma Gates Award recipient. Like
thanks
I said,
for
well deserved.
thanks for having me. And Shannon B. Biscuitman back there. Where's Shannon?
Uh, I think she might be upstairs right now, but she
Okay.
was back there. She's probably watching, though.
Okay. Thanks for having me on, man. You know what I
You're welcome,
mean?
bro.
I hope to
And
see y'all. I'll see
we'll
y'all.
see you soon.
Have some
We'll see you.
biscuits ready for me.
I'll try. We'll work on that. All right, man. You have a good one, Soda. All right. I know Soda's running low on power there. I think that was a really good one. It was good chopping it up with Soda and getting to hear a lot of that history. The beginning for Soda is even before my time. So, that's really awesome that he came on here and talked with us about all that stuff and had all those stories. And you know, he finally got that Alma Gates Award that he probably deserved to get it before me, honestly, and I got it. I think 4 or 5 years. Uh, I don't know when it was. Was it 21, 20, 19 or 20 maybe? So, but I was really hoping that he was going to be present at finals so I could hand it to him personally because I know folks had talked about it for a while and I knew it was something that meant something to him. And most of us guys that shook hands with Alma at some point, it definitely meant something to us. It's one of the awards that not that finals doesn't bring the grown men to tears over multiple things, but that's the one award that I ever got that you know it meant a lot to me. So um again, it's just something that we give out. Hopefully, somebody that's a good influence on the sport, somebody that's been around for a while. And, obviously they've done a little winning and they're loud. But I hope everybody enjoyed the show. I hope you guys maybe picked something up from Sodda there. And I know his phone was dying, so I didn't really get to get the next victim, but I'll get that figured out and let you guys know. Again, we have 3 events coming at you folks this weekend. Run Your System, Not Your Mouth in Orlando, or there in Florida. I think it's Orlando, if I'm remembering correctly. We got the Low Life Kickoff in Shelburne, Indiana. And then lastly, the Base Buddies event there in New Mexico. And one last time for all you guys that are watching, the website is starting to come back around a little bit. I think most of the pages are at least loading. We are trying to catch up the events section at this time. There's still quite a ways to go, but some of the stuff is coming back, and we're catching up. Posting the events to the calendar at this point, and hopefully we'll be caught up with that here in the next day or two. And I think that's it. That's it. Unless you guys got any questions for me right this second, I think that's all I got for this evening. We've been going for about an hour and 45 minutes tonight, so it was a good show. Like it, share it, like and subscribe. I'm only live on Facebook and YouTube tonight because TikTok won't let me on. So I guess when I get off here, I'll try to figure out what happened there. But until I can figure that out, I guess we're back to Facebook and YouTube. And until next time, keep it loud and clear, MECA heads.